Greetings day. It's a new day and a new episode of MycoSpace Trip. We're here in my local community college's 3D design studio / shop. And it's here where I do a lot of my 3D modeling and where I actually get my pieces printed for this project. Let me show you real quick around the room. You see there? Oh. That over there is the art tech, Evan. Yeah. So last episode, I mainly showed you some of the steps I took towards making this piece right here. What's being titled, Not a Cactus. As you can see, it looks like a pretty cute cartoonish cactus. And it's gonna look amazing when it has mushrooms growing from this form. So what are we doing today? I'll show you. So while I'm simultaneously working on Not a Cactus, I am working on this other piece, the one I made before Not a Cactus, called Living Merkaba. What you see here is the internal structure that goes inside the Merkaba mold. Goes like this, see? Fits snugly together, and this frame is supposed to be fit inside the mold and then packed with mushroom substrate, allow it to colonize, and then put into fruiting conditions. Now, there was a bit of a hiccup with these first two frames. Issue was, it was a little too tight to fit in this mold. Considering after it's fully colonized, I have to remove it from the mold without damaging the substrate, without damaging the form. So I'm going to hop into Fusion 360, do a little more editing there to make it a little less tight in this mold. And you get to see. Join me on my quest. Oh yeah, and we're also going to print the other side of Not a Cactus. We're also going to see if we can run the internal frame structure for Not a Cactus while we get the Living Merkaba situated, get the frame structure for it as well. Let's oge. So as you can see here, we're in Fusion 360. The Living Merkaba internal frame is composed of two frame sections. Just like with Not a Cactus, the design is split in half so that both mold shells can be evenly packed with mushroom substrate. The issue with the frame not fitting in the mold was that it was way too tight. So in order to fix that, I had to reduce the dimensions of the point of contact that the frame made with the mold shell by 1.2 millimeters. By reducing it a small amount, it would allow it to slide right into the frame instead of fitting so tightly. So it was a quick fix. The next major challenge with printing these frames is really just its complexity. Being such a thin frame structure, it's somewhat difficult to print. Considering one side has pegs extending out from it, it makes it even harder to print perfectly. So oftentimes these complex frames demand a lot of additional tree supports to ensure that it doesn't fall apart, to ensure it prints correctly. Alright, we got the Living Merkaba internal frame structure ready to print. Let's get it going on the printers over here. We got the next version of the Living Merkaba internal frame printing right now. And hopefully it fits this time, because I can't stand having this tight frame fit in that mold like that. It's gotta fit good. Just a little loose. A little bit. While we're waiting for the Living Merkaba internal frames to print, we'll work on our next piece, Living Crystal.
Imagine yourself as a daring explorer, venturing deep into a vast, shadowy cave in search of hidden treasures. After hours navigating its icy darkness, you suddenly encounter a dazzling display of crystals. But as you draw nearer, you discover they are no ordinary crystals. They're infused with vibrant mushrooms, intertwined in a mysterious symbiosis. Intrigued and undeterred, you carefully collect a sample, placing it in a pot. Once back in the light of day, you watch in amazement as the living crystals continue to thrive, sprouting mushrooms in a mesmerizing dance of nature's magic.
Went ahead and modeled 3 crystal structures here in Fusion 360. Here I am, rearranging the crystals that I modeled into better proportions, rearranging their angles, slimming them down a bit, extending them a bit, making sure they look cohesive. And here you can see the moment I was struck with the idea of how I wanted this whole piece to look like. I visualized a crystal pot, some kind of magical crystal organism growing from a ornate piece of pottery. Once I saw the vision in mind and drew it down, I got right to work, taking the steps to translate the idea from mind to paper and then paper to 3D model. Right away, I got to building the slot structure and then the lip and base for the pot. I knew I wanted it to be kind of exaggeratedly big, almost like a vessel for a potion. So it had to be big and round. Once I got the proportions right, I started decorating the pot itself, figuring out how to get some ornate lines across the base, near the bottom and closer to the lip at the top. After getting the lines in, I went ahead and figured out how I wanted to arrange crystals around the whole central perimeter of the pot. For real, I actually enjoyed how it was coming out at this point. Evenly distributed around the entire pot from every angle was just icing on the cake for me. Then once I got the crystals arranged all around the pot, I wanted to add a little bit more flair to it, so I chose to cut small spheres in between each crystal around the entire central perimeter of the pot. Once I liked what I saw and figured that it actually matched what I drew on paper, I went ahead and ensured that the crystal body slot would fit into the pot. Taking the same principles applied to Not a Cactus, this design incorporates a mycelium form that connects into a base. And around this time, the living Merkaba internal frame failed. It started getting spaghetti-like, but that's okay. I went ahead and ran it again. So it's designed to fit perfectly into the pot. Whew, I was so excited with the final results. And that's it. This makes Living Crystal our 5th design out of 10 that I am fully committed to making before May 1st. That means I'm halfway done with my design goal, but that doesn't mean I'm completely done with the project as a whole. I still have to print each of these out, prepare them, pack them each with mushroom substrate, put them into fruiting conditions, and then capture the results for each individual design. And that's going to be insane, but I can't wait to see the results. So let's keep heading forward. Tell me if there's anything you'd like to see or any questions you have. Please let me know in the comments below. Many thanks to everyone that supported my first episode drop and got the algorithm to pick me up right off bat. Thank you so much. I'm likely going to continue dropping these on a weekly basis, so stay tuned for the next MycoSpace Trip. Thanks again for watching MycoSpace Trip Episode 2.